everyone, it's Sue here. Today I'm working with this indigo blue stamp that is called Lost in Thought. And I also pulled out my Prima Art Basics modeling paste, and I'm going to work on this piece of cardboard. I've already distressed it to a certain point around the edges and put some white gesso in the middle of it. I'm going to go ahead and stamp right onto the cardboard, so that's why I put the gesso there. And it's just, well, it's the Liquitex. It's the cheaper Liquitex gesso, and which I like very much. It's nice and thick, so it works well for me. And I'm just getting this modeling paste around. It is opaque and it is matte, and I did want a lot up in that upper right corner. So here I'm going to go ahead and stamp the image, and oh my goodness, I pushed and pushed and pushed and it still missed. And I mean, obviously, because it is a piece of corrugated cardboard. But anyways, I gave it a try, but it just wasn't right. So I ended up using this mixed media pad. And the first time I stamped her on there, I did it on all the other pages, and it was just like too soft. It didn't give me a good impression. So this time I did it where I was just on the one page, and then on my table, and it worked perfectly. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that out of my mixed media pad and pull out my trimmer and go ahead and trim it up. And I was going to trim that top off, and I'm like, no, I like that. It gives it just a little bit more visual interest, and here I am just kind of messing it up just a little bit more, and I like the way that that looks. So now I'm going to go ahead and color her in, and I'm using the Zig Clean Color Brush pens. And they are water soluble, and I like them very, very, very much. What I have found with them, though, is it depends what paper you use. So for me, the mixed media paper by far is the best. Otherwise, I can't get them to blend properly. So I've taken a lighter blue, and then here I'm taking a little bit darker blue and just following the stamp, right? Here's the darker blue. So I'm just following the stamped image, where there's darker spots on the stamp. I put the darker blue. And now I pulled out this gray, and I use this gray a lot. And I'm just going around and putting more shading on there to give it, to look more realistic. And now I'm trying to figure out what color am I going to do her shirt. And just guess, I know. Yeah, pink. When don't I have pink on something that I do? So this particular color pink is quite pretty. I like it very much. And to give it, a little bit of shading and such, I'm using that same gray clean color brush pen, and I use that one a lot. And this is the flesh color, and I'm just going to put it, I'm just putting it on. I'm just putting it wherever there's flesh. Nothing fancy at this point. I just need to get that first coat on there, and then I'm going to come back in right here, and I'm using that pink pen to get a little bit of color on that flesh tone pen, and then I'm getting it onto the image and blending it in. And I like the way that that looks a lot. I have learned to use pink for shading, and I like the way that it looks. And that flesh tone pen that I am using right there, it's also the pen that I use as a blender. So I often use it on different colors, and it works quite well. I don't know if this particular Zig pen comes in white, but I don't have white if it does. So down here, this is a backpack. So I pulled out like a khaki green color, and just getting that all colored up. And there was a little zipper kind of in the middle of it, and you're going to see me pull my pink and put just a tad of pink on that backpack right there. There you go. And again, here I am putting in some shading with that gray pen. And here we go. And right here, I'm putting right there. And on the other leg, I'm going to do it as well. Just right in the middle of the leg, I'm just giving it a little bit of shading because it just looked too solid. It didn't look interesting there. So that just gave it a bit more visual interest. And I pulled out the same lighter blue color that I used on her pants. And I'm putting that on her hat. And again, like if there's a dark spot that's from the ink from the stamp, I'm just putting the color right over it, and it works quite well. And here I put little red nails, little red nail polish on her. So that's what that was. That's the only bit of red on here is her nail polish. And now I'm working on her hair. So one of the things that I like a lot about the Zig pens are you can make them very, very, very fine, or if you press harder, they become more of a wider, thicker line. But for the hair, you know, obviously it was already there with the stamp, but I just couldn't let that be, right? So I decided, oh, I'm going to make her hair longer. I made it long on one side. Then I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to make it long on the other side. So then I started filling it in, you know, making it still a little bit longer right there. Then just filling it in there just to get a little bit darker. Filling it in on the right side now just to get it a little darker, and I'm just about done. That's it. That is it for her hair. And of course, her sneakers have to be pink. But this pink is a pale pink, much more pale than her shirt. But, well, you're going to see I'm going to pull in the darker pink anyway. But I just put a little bit of black on the bottom. But here's that darker pink that matches her shirt. And I made her shoelaces and the little eyelets a little bit, you know, darker with the dark pink, and the tip of her sneaker. And then I'm just going to go in again right there with the lighter pink and finish up the sneakers. So here I'm just going to show you. I used all these different colors to color her in. And I like those. Those are one of my most favorite purchases. And I'm just putting it there, right? I just want to see how I like it. And I do like it very much, but I did want it to be a little bit more defined. So I'm just putting a little bit of the black archival ink around it. And the whole time that like I'm doing all this, like I'm just so nervous that I'm going to get some color on the white of that background. But here I pulled out a Tim Holtz stencil, and I'm using the archival ink in black again. And we're going to start building some layers on this piece of cardboard. And I'll just put a little bit down here. And I didn't really want the alpha, excuse me, I was looking more for, you know, those odd symbols, you know, the @ and $ and all that. So that's mainly what I was going for. And now I pulled out this stencil. I think this might be, gosh, is it a Dilution stencil? It could be. And a Brutus Monroe ink in, oh, I forget what the color of that is called. I'll have to think about that for a second. So I just hit it with the heat tool. And I do that throughout the whole project here. I do keep hitting it with the heat tool. You just don't see it. So again, I'm just placing that there because I'm trying to figure out what I want to put under it and where. So now I pull out this stencil, and it's from Etsy. And the name of the shop is called Housewares, Howsewears. And I'm using Heidi Swap Metallic Texture Paste in pink. And I love the stencil. I love this texture paste. I'm loving it. Absolutely loving it. So again, I pull the picture in, that image in just to see where I want some more of these circles. And what I was trying to do, what I figured out was that, excuse me, that I wanted it to kind of look like it was like a direct line under the image once the image was on it. So that's why I put the stencil there. So you can see, once the image is on top of that, it's going to look like it was one long line of texture paste. And here I'm just putting this on my wipe off page, which I'm loving the way that looks. I can't wait to play with it. So that will probably be next, and clean up there. And again, just hitting it with the heat tool. Now I'm not planning to get it like dry. I just want to get it to where I can keep moving along with the project. So now I'm pulling in the Prima Color Bloom Spray in Cobalt. And I also have this piece of mesh. This was purchased at Michael's, and it was a big roll. And oh, look at that. Look at how pretty that looks. I love that look. And then so I'm just, turning it over and getting the little bit that was on the other side onto the project. And I'm just holding it down with that texture paste right there, because this mesh comes in a roll. It wanted to roll up on me. And now again, I'm just getting the rest of that spray off of the mesh. And here is that same Brutus Monroe ink. And I'm getting that around the edges just to grunge it up. And this page wasn't meant to be grungy, but I like the way it looks. I mean, I like a lot of layers, and I'm just going to put this here to get some. I used the 3D matte gel made by Prima Art Basics. And the reason I use this particular matte gel is because it is very thick. And I knew I needed something quite thick and heavy to adhere this image down. So again, I'm like so nervous. I have all color everywhere. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get this paper down without getting color on the white? But I did. I used tissues, and I was so careful. And I did a pretty good job. And I'm just, bringing up that little end there. And I'm going to show you where we're at so far. And I love it. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I need something up in that upper left where all that white space is. So I pulled out a stamp made by Growing Meadows on Etsy. And just pulling in these little, almost, they're not crosses. I guess they're like little plus sign or stars, whatever. I just love them. It's one of my favorite stamps of all time. And I like that. I thought that just finished it up. I'm going to lift it up here for you. And I hope that you like this. Let me know if you have any questions. And here are some pictures for you. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Thank you. Bye-bye.